Hello, everybody, and welcome to ABL Down on the Farm, episode 51, where we talk about all things baseball fantasy prospecting, but especially prospecting in the ABL, a 30-team Dynasty league with 20 spots for minor leaguers for every team for a glorious 600 prospects. And this afternoon, I'm very pleased to have a longtime friend of the show, Kevin, rejoin the show. In the ABL, he's the owner of the Tampa Bay Rays, although he is a Mets fan. And we'll be talking about a lot of the players, or not a lot, a handful of the players on his team, his prospects. And we have a special feature today, which is the wheel, which we're going to have a random discussion generated from a random wheel of about a prospect on the ABL Prospect Handbook Top 100. And then if Kevin's up to par, if he has his work together, we'll do some crushes and fades at the end of the show. So without further ado, let me bring in Kevin. Kevin, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Oh, so happy to have you here. Thanks for coming back. And we have so Jason has become like a stalwart, watcher of the show while it's live. So, hey, Jason, good to see you. And it is a glorious Saturday.
It really is. Thanks for watching, Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those watching live or later on, please hit the subscribe button. So, I get more subscribers, which would be good. In any event, with that plug aside, so welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for, coming back on. We have a lot of interesting things to talk about today. But before we got started, I wanted to touch on one thing that occurred to me as I was watching the initial part of the minor league season unfold, which is, decisions you make about the first year player draft. In this year's draft, I had the number 2 pick, and I chose Liam Doyle. And I'm so glad to see Liam Doyle start to do well for the Cardinals. I mean, there was a great article in Baseball America about how the Cardinals have been working assiduously on his pitch mix, like making him not so reliant on the fastball, developing his secondary pitches, and you're starting to see in his last few starts that hard work start to pay off. And the reason that I am so thankful that that's starting to come around is because the number 1 guy on my board was Seth Hernandez.
It's funny, we did not talk about this before I joined. And my first way back when you're like, oh, Steve's got 2 top picks in this draft. Like, all right, so he's gonna have with Seth Hernandez and Luis Hernandez. Done.
Yeah, and so Luis Hernandez got chosen by Evan in between. I would have taken him at number 9. But I got Jhonny Colome, who I think is really terrific, and the DSL hasn't started yet, so I'm perfectly fine with that pick at 9. I thought there was an outside chance that Seth Hernandez would fall to me at 9.
Why?
Like an outside chance, right? And so when John picked him live on the show, I was so irritated, but. So I just wanted to recap. This is all right. Seth Hernandez comes off the board, and I will tell you that he is the number 1 ranked prospect of the first year player draft in the handbook this year. Yeah. So I passed on my number 1 ranked guy to take Liam Doyle.
Yeah. And in context, I get it. Liam Doyle's gonna be in the majors next year probably, and Seth Hernandez. High school pitcher, probably a few years down the line, especially in a league like ABL where, at some point you need bodies, proximity does matter somewhat.
It does. It's just, it was grating on me watching Liam Doyle struggle when I had Hernandez ranked higher, but that,
and meanwhile, Seth Hernandez, who is not struggling.
No, he is not struggling. He is excelling. And he's at high A now. It is not beyond the realm of possibility that he gets promoted to Double A this year.
Yeah, I said at the time of the draft, he's probably a couple of years away. He might just crush high A. He might be in Double A, and then he might be in Double A next year. This year into next year, and then Triple A. And it's someone's injured. We need and all of a sudden the Pirates have all these young guys. We need an arm. We're in the playoff race, and all of a sudden this guy's what's he going to be? 20 next year?
Yeah, he'll be 20 next year. He's 19. I mean, he's quite extraordinary. And I love Seth Hernandez. I love him going through the draft process. I mean, there was a reason he was number 1 on my board, despite being a pitcher, despite being a prep player. Tremendous talent. But I'm definitely having some buyer's remorse. But so like I'm very, as a Cardinal fan, I love Liam Doyle. I love Liam Doyle on the talent, so I'm hoping he continues to mature and continues to develop and is in the majors like next year, if not later like this year. But we'll see. But you just sometimes you have to stick to your process as opposed to trying to like outsmart yourself.
Trust the process.
Yeah, trust the process. There you go. So we have a number of prospects I was hoping to cover today. They're all on your roster in ABL.
I've had a year in ABL. I really went in thinking this is my year. I'm going to kick the door in. I'm going to be one of the best teams easily. And then it turns out players can get injured. and also, I always botch the draft somehow. It's kind of annoying. I've gotten better at everything in ABL, but usually mess up the draft, the auction. Sorry, somewhere.
Yeah.
So if you've noticed, I had no real early picks, and I already have a couple of the first rounders from the draft.
Yeah.
I think Marquette and Holiday are already on my roster.
Acquired Ethan Holiday. That's right. And there's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of these prospects, there are certain guys in the league who are, they're really not prospect hounds, and so they basically are willing to trade these type picks early on in the season. And we're 6 weeks into the season.
Yeah, and also, for all the great work you do on the handbook, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll have a pretty good handbook ranking. Then I had like 7 promotions last August, so I was pretty much dog water on the prospect rankings.
Yep.
And like, granted, a lot of them were like 2040s now. So, but I've done some course correction on that.
Yeah, well, you got to replenish, right?
Yeah,
I mean, definitely promotions will definitely dilute your handbook rating, but like the goal is not to have a good handbook rating, right? I mean, the goal is to have a good major league roster. But I think like one of the things that you have to kind of accept is when you have a lot of young players on your roster, there's a lot of volatility. Particularly when it comes to pitchers, and it takes a while for these guys to acclimate. For most of them, there are very few players who come into the major leagues and just hit like Juan Soto did, or like that's the outlier, right? It's not the expectation. So you can, going to your point about the draft, like if you have a bunch of graduations last August, 2026 may not be the year, right? Maybe 2027, right? I mean, like and then you replenish the minor leagues as you should, and you have to have a steady stream of these young players in a contract league like ABL is, and so the key is to having good young talent that you can leverage for 5 years or 6 years with the arbitration rules that we have in ABL. But let's talk about some of your young players, right? Because you have some exciting ones in your roster. I think they're very interesting prospects to talk about in terms of where they are in the maturation process. So let's talk about the first dude. And I prepared a little slide deck. This is Caleb Bonner.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Bonner fan. He's the guy who moved up in the handbook as my finalization process came together. You can see his handbook rating there of 9.12, which is quite high.
Yes.
So how are you feeling about Caleb? 20 years old, high A ball. How are you feeling about where he is right now, and your decision to select him in the draft?
So the thing with Caleb Bonner is I actually never drafted him. I acquired him as part of that mega Paul Skeens trade with John.
Yes.
A lot of moving parts. I lost Cooper Pratt in that trade and got Caleb Bonner because at the time he's like second rounder. He had potential if things clicked, but Cooper Pratt was obviously at the time much higher floor, higher. I think Bonner had higher upside, and now he's achieved it, but it didn't seem likely at the time.
Yep.
So I got very fortunate there. That there's going to be like for a few years to come in ABL where I can like whether my team is good or bad, linking back to that trade with John. Whereas John's a juggernaut, so he'll be good no matter what happens.
Sure. John is very skilled.
Yeah, I mean at this point it might as well be called the Drake Baldwin trade because.
There you go. John, by the way, is the dude who selected Seth Hernandez in the first player draft. So
it's
from the car.
He did it from the car. How competent and good John is.
Yeah, no, he's a very capable owner.
Yeah. So I got him from that, and it's like I think he was second round pick, and I think he was second round pick both in the ABL draft and in the MLB draft when he went. And it's like this guy has upside if these things happen, and all of these things have happened. I mean. Again, K rate's still elevated, but when you offset that with he's got 13, 14 home runs already this year in the minor leagues.
Yeah, I didn't look up the home run totals.
It's
but
something absurd.
he's definitely hitting for a lot of power.
One of them was off Garrett Cole,
Yep.
And then he got hit by a pitch by Garrett Cole for showing up Garrett Cole.
Yeah, hammering Garrett Cole. Yeah. Bonner, he's obviously performing very well. That slugging percentage is, quite, interesting. The strikeout rate is high, but I think that was kind of like the concern about him going in.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that's interesting to me about him, well, there are two things that jump off the page to me. His walk rate at 16.2 is very good. That's kind of where you want a slugger to be. It's like, really attractive, particularly in a points league like ABL is.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the walks generate points, they get you on base, you can score runs and the like. The other thing that, I tend to look for in young players like Bonner is deltas in the scouting grades. And I want to talk about that a little bit because you can see like the Baseball America and Baseball HQ grades there at the bottom of the page. And I talked about this the last episode as well. When you see some deltas between the grades, what it suggests to me is two things. One, there's a potential for coaches to make a real difference and for adjustments to make a real difference. And unlike college players who are a little bit more baked and a little bit more solidified in their ways and their skill sets are a little bit more solidified, these young players are very malleable. And the coaches, if they're open-minded to coaching, it can make a real difference.
Yeah, and this is also a weird thing, like going into coaching, such a weird sense. Shout out to the White Sox organization. Like, they're growing these infielders on trees, like, Colson Montgomery, who had a not exactly the same, but a sort of similar profile, is in the majors. And, like, still a little bit elevated strikeout rate, but producing.
Yep, 100%.
Caleb Bomber producing. Apparently, Jacob Gonzalez is a thing again. That was, like, their first-round pick in 2023, fell off multiple cliffs, and now he's in AAA with, like, just short of video game numbers.
Yeah, I mean,
it's still 23. Like,
yeah, Gonzalez is one of those dudes who, like, is he like a 4A player or is he like an actual?
Well, he was proper nothing, and now it's like he's still 23. It's
in a 30-team league, he's relevant.
Yes.
I mean, so Bonner, excuse me, like I think is like got more upside and.
Oh yeah, I mean, like. But just like the fact that this White Sox organization, whatever's in the water, whatever's in the coaching, they're like, maybe it's the top. Who knows?
Miguel Vargas came over. They've like turned his career around. I mean, there's definitely some positive player development stuff going on in Chicago. I mean, they can't help all their players. Andrew Vaughn is still struggling. I mean, like it's not consistent. It's not a consistent narrative across the board.
Yeah, they still got to get into the outfield, but they might have an abundance of riches in left-handed pitchers and infielders.
Yeah, I agree. But going back to the scouting grade deltas that you see here, a couple things stand out to me. One is the very high floor that both industry publications that I rely on for the handbook have given him. An A is an average rating of risk for Baseball America, which for a prospect again is a very strong rating. And Baseball HQ gave him a B, which is essentially very similar to the A that you get in Baseball America. And what that suggests is that both publications feel pretty good, not only about their grades they've given him, but about like his ability to achieve that level of success.
Which is so interesting because for a hitter, it's not normally you don't see someone with a strikeout rate like this with a floor that high.
Yeah, I agree. So then when you dig in under the hood, both publications gave him basically a 55 hit tool, which is an above average hit tool. That's the 3 in Baseball HQ is the equivalent of a 55. You see Baseball America gave him a slightly better power grade, right? And Baseball HQ gave him a slightly better speed grade. Actually not just slightly, like a pretty significant delta. Baseball America gave him a 60 overall, which is basically like, an all-star grade. And, Baseball HQ gave him a 55, which is above average. So if he can be somewhere in between those two grades as a player, That's a really nice piece to have in a 30-team league.
It's just, I mean, it's interesting too, just in general, not like, the norm, not all the time, obviously, but for hitting prospects, the power in game is usually one of the last things to show up. And his is very clearly there now.
Right. And so, yeah, I agree with you. And like, so when you see these statistics on the board and you see his basic performance, a couple of things really stand out to me relevant to the point you just made. One is that 60 grade power in Baseball America might be the better grade on him. And maybe you see Baseball HQ up it to a 4 next year. Right. And, just touching on that for a moment, the thing that's really interesting to me about younger players is there's potential for grade growth. Right? These guys can like up level their grades. So there's a lot of volatility with the younger players, but there's also upside with that volatility as well. And so you might see him really shoot up in the handbook next year because if Baseball HQ ups his power grade, he's going to jump up.
Yeah. And I think even there's been stuff the last week or two, like first updates, like he's been, I think he's already kind of a top 100 guy going into the season. And now,
he was definitely on various lists. I mean, as you know, I'm not a big list guy.
Yeah, I'm not a big list. Just like the headlines, like, oh, he shot up top 50, top 25. I don't think anyone's been brave enough to go top 10 yet, but they might have. Yeah, again, like
I have not seen that.
Yeah, I'm surface level one.
He's climbing the industry rankings for sure, and there's a lot of hype around him. And I think it's well deserved. I mean, he's definitely produced. That strikeout rate is concerning, but I think what's interesting to me about that. Let's see where it nets out. It's 167 plate appearances right now. When he gets around like 250, let's see.
And also it's paired with that walk rate and that power where it's like, even if he strikes out 30% of the time in the majors, he might make it work.
Yeah. So what I want to see as the season progresses is whether that hit tool holds at a 55 or whether it comes down. And the walk rate and the strikeout rate are both relevant to that grade. So it'll be interesting to see how it, comes out at the end of the year once we see a full season of him, at high A ball. He may also get promoted to Double A at some point later in the year.
I mean, generally, if you're hitting 10 home runs a month with an on base over 400, they're probably going to move you up before long.
Yeah, and that would be a great vote of confidence if you see him, up level to Double A. He may struggle there when he first gets there, but like, you'll take it.
Right.
So really, really exciting prospect. I think, folks who drafted him in the second round or acquired him as part of a deal, have a potential windfall because this is like first round performance from Caleb Bonnemer. So let's talk about the next dude on the list, which is another favorite of mine, which is Jhonny Level. And before we get into Johnny's performance, anybody named...
Is he really 5'10"? I thought he was shorter.
I know, right? We'll talk about his frame. I mean, if you contrast that to Caleb Bonnemer, like he's 6'1", right? Which is like a much better frame for a hitter, which is obviously something I index on in the handbook. So it's a smaller dude. His weight is listed in various degrees. Like this, the Baseball America weight was 154. I've seen him listed as heavier.
Depends on how much it's raining that day.
Right. Right, exactly. I have not seen Level in person, so I can't really comment. But at 5'10", 154, so I'm 5'9", 161. So like he's a little taller and lighter than I am, which is a little concerning as a baseball player. Like, he's still just 18 years old. So there's time to build up muscle and pack on, weight. But you can see the stats there that he's putting up in low A. Still young for the level at low A, which you'd like to see.
Yeah.
Succeeding, only 138 plate appearances, so it's obviously a very small sample size. But what really stands out to me is his strikeout rate.
Yes,
at 16.3%. And I will note, I put his kind of unattractive walk rate there. But if you look at his walk rate last year, it was higher. So I'd be very interested to see if that walk rate climbs because he's repeating low A. And so we'll see how that walk rate.
He's repeating low A, but he only had it was essentially a cup of coffee in low A. He had maybe 30 games in low A, which the only time he relatively struggled since he's come stateside.
Yep. No, I agree with that 100%. I mean, repeating, low A can be like a demerit. Here, it's
Yeah.
not. He
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, also when you're 18, repeating low A, it's very different when you're like 20, 21.
Yes, I agree. So he's perfectly age, appropriate for his level. He's right on track where you want him to be. I mentioned the walk rate and the strikeout rate because it really, to me, solidifies the hit tool grade that you're seeing on the bottom of the
Yes.
page. And I think the big question is the delta that you're seeing there between the power grades. A 2 would be a 50 grade, or is he a
Yeah.
55 grade? And also, like, you see the difference in the speed grades. Baseball HQ gave him a 4, which is basically a 60.
Yeah,
And Baseball America gave him a 45, which is below average. So, like, it's not clear to me how fast he is, but like,
no.
it's not clear to these industries, publications either. Obviously, just if he can, if he's speedier than Baseball America thinks he is, that adds a lot of value. Because it creates extra base hits, it creates runs,
Yes.
And maybe stolen bases too. Which
Yeah,
is,
I mean, in
go ahead.
general, it seems like the consensus is, again, I think the analysis on the screen says it, advanced back to ball skills. He's going to hit the ball. Is there going to be over the wall power? Is it more a line drive? Is it a spray hitter? And then, so, it's a difference. Is he going to hit, for fantasy purposes at least, is he just going to be a high average, or is there going to be some power? Is he a 45 runner? Is he a 60? Are there going to be stolen bases? So, he's a good baseball player, like well on track to be a good baseball player. For
Yep.
fantasy, there's a question of, is he going to be a guy who has a good average and like mostly empty, or is there going to be speed, or is there going to be power mixed in?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that
Yeah.
analysis. He's a very interesting prospect, very young. This also goes back to my point about coachability and the ability to improve these grades. Like, is there another level to Jhonny level?
Yes.
And
Yes.
right. I mean, the other thing I would note on the scouting grades is there's a divergence in the risk, ceiling risk for both publications. Baseball America gave him an average, an A, which again, I've said this before. It's like that's a very strong grade to have for an 18-year-old to have average risk. That's really good. That means
Yes.
Baseball America feels like this is a very good floor for this kid. Baseball HQ is a little bit more reticent. They gave him a D, which is like a little bit lower. So that's basically like a high risk for Baseball America. It's not terrible.
No.
An E would be extreme, and that would be like the worst case scenario.
Yes.
But they're a little bit cagey about Jhonny level. So that's another thing to keep an eye on. But I think it really just underscores that he's so young, and there's a long track ahead of him before reaching the majors.
Yeah,
But
like
again,
he
go ahead.
feels about as safe as an 18-year-old prospect could, keeping in mind that he's still 18, so he's not safe.
Yeah, I agree with that. So really fun prospect. Remind me, did you draft him or did you acquire him?
I did. I got him, I think, middle of the second round,
Oh,
last year's draft.
yeah. So a
Yeah.
lot of the
Yeah.
DSL guys go in that range, the upper echelon DSL guys. Second round. Or they're now
Yeah.
this past year there was a lot of first round talent, as I talked about earlier in the season, from the DSL.
Yeah.
But
Actually, I
normally,
remember one funny part about that draft. I can't
yeah,
remember if it was Mark or Marlins Frank and ABL. It was that second round. I had like is 44, like 4 picks in a row. Me, Frank or Mark, me, Frank or Mark. And I had a list of
okay,
4 guys going there. And they were all 4 picks, including the 2 that I didn't make. And I think it was like Johnny Level, JD Dix, Santucci, and I forget the 4th. And they all went those 4 picks.
got it. So everybody came off your board.
Yeah, just like all at once. Like, all right, maybe I can trade up for somebody. Absolutely not. It was like the end of a tier. All right, done. I'm going to sit on my hands for a bit.
Yeah, but maybe you got the right guy with Johnny Level.
I mean, that's looking promising so far.
Yeah, no, I agree. So let's move on to the next dude on the list, which is a very intriguing prospect, and that is our boy
Shotaro Mori.
Mori. Mori is like a baseball card darling, by the way.
Yeah, like he's
ahead.
an like 30 team. Someone like this definitely rosterable. There's like the most likely outcome is he doesn't make it right off the bat, but I mean, it's a bit of a unicorn.
Yeah, is one of these intriguing 2A players. He's just started to pitch. I mean, I didn't even bother to put his stats up because he's such a limited appearance.
I think it's funny because of all sites, MLB actually the article about it. It's like he's gonna work up to 3 or 4 innings this year. I think he pitched 1 inning the other day, but then the day
Yeah,
after he pitches, he does rest. But the thing about him, like, oh, Otani 2A player, but like Maury is playing second base.
yeah,
Like they
yeah,
made this whole tailored program for him where it's like he pitches, then he rests, then he plays second base for a day or two, then he DHs a day or two and throws on his off day when he DHs, and then he,
yeah,
which,
yeah.
yeah, it's wild, but it's also like it doesn't really happen much anymore. So they had to like figure out a plan, and no idea if this plan will work, but
I don't know if the plan will work either. I mean, the one
no.
thing I will note about him, which I do note on the screen, is his frame, right? Like
Yes.
6 feet 190 for a hitter, that's a very solid frame.
Yeah, for a pitcher, it's
For a
borderline.
pitcher, yeah. I mean, like I prefer my pitchers to be at least 6'2".
Yeah,
So,
ideally, yeah.
you
It's an
know,
uphill battle.
yeah, it's an uphill battle. I mean, he basically has the frame of a reliever.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, not as interesting.
Yeah,
as
for fantasy, it's especially a daily league. Like if he's a reliever, and he like apparently the one thing is like it's very far away, but he's got like an average fastball and a good splitter right now,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
might
yeah,
be a reliever. But yeah, for fantasy, it's like if he's not starting at second base, do I really want to put like down the line, assume he even gets that far?
right.
There's definitely different upside for this if he's a starter versus a reliever.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you'll see that the handbook grade I gave him, which was 691, which is a solid grade. But that's
Yeah.
based entirely on his hitting. I'm actually going to talk with Tom over the offseason about how to deal with two-way players, because it's Maury's one of them, and Josh Owens of the Rangers.
Yeah, and I think also Conrad Kaysen of the Red Sox. I think they tried him, then he got hurt. Now they're trying again this year. So
yeah, so I mean, there are these handful of dudes who, like, I think all of them are going to end up being hitters. Honestly.
Oh yeah, I don't think any of them are gonna. But good on these organizations. Try it till they give you a reason not to.
Right. No, that's right. I mean, so let's talk about him as a hitter for a minute, because I think if he has a pathway as a second baseman, which is a different position for a hitter, like in terms of value conferred at the major league level, for fantasy purposes. You can see his grades down there at the bottom, and they're again like fairly consistent. The overall 55 grade is above average, right? So that's 8 is for Baseball HQ. You can see there's a slight deviation in the ceiling risk. Baseball HQ is again a little bit more conservative with an E, which is extreme. So there's definitely volatility there. He's 19 years old. He's an A-ball.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's my prospect. I'm supposed to like blow smoke for all of them. Like, yeah, I'd absolutely go with the higher risk on this versus the lower one.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the honesty. So, what's interesting is the hit tool grade to me. So Baseball HQ has him at 3, which is a 55 hit tool, which is a little bit higher than Baseball America. So let's see how he progresses, because as a second baseman, if he ends up being the player on the right, like decent average, decent speed, 55 speed, if he can get on base, if his walk rate's pretty solid, like that can be a useful second baseman, middle infielder.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? If he ends up being the player on the left, the Baseball America grades, that's kind of less interesting to me.
Yeah, right? At that point, it's especially if he's just second base, like that's great if those grades fill out. That's something I would love in like a multi-prospect guy, like a multi-position guy. Yeah, for just a second baseman, that's. But then again, if he makes as a starting pitcher, as a second baseman starting pitcher, that's gold.
Totally different ballgame. Totally different ballgame. So interesting prospect. As I said, as a player who came over from Japan, there's a lot of fanfare behind him, which I think is more felt in kind of like the trading card world than it is in the fantasy baseball world. I think people in the fantasy world are kind of just watching what happens with him. So I'm not sure, how much trade value there is in a guy like Maury right now.
It's someone he's, especially in like ABL 600 prospects, definitely rosterable.
Yeah.
I don't know how desirable he is now, but again, like if he goes through this progression this year and the pitching improves and the hitting improves, and all of a sudden he's a guy that's, especially for a daily league. That's a guy who's like maybe 200 prospects. You got to keep an eye on him.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. So it'll be very interesting. Like he's just got promoted to A-ball. Let's see how he progresses, particularly with the pitching. Hopefully, he doesn't hurt himself, right? Because that's the risk too. If you're like,
No, and
not
that's the other thing. They make this plan for him. It's uncharted waters, so it's a very slow plan. Like I think he had his debut. I think he pitched Thursday, and he pitched an inning.
Yep.
And like he's going to throw some side sessions, and he's going to pitch next Thursday, and he's going to pitch an inning, maybe 2 innings. And I don't think they're pushing him past like 4 or 5 innings on the year if all goes well. So
yeah, and that raises to me a concern just about his development as a hitter.
Yeah.
Like like if you're doing all these things on the side to be a pitcher, like are you focusing enough on being a hitter? Because it's hard to hit pitching.
Yeah,
it's not an easy job.
It's hard to do one of the things, and then you're trying to do both of the things.
Yeah, it's very difficult for a young kid to come up, and he's in the minor leagues right now, and like it's like Shohei Ohtani, like he's a unicorn, like he's an extraordinary athlete, and had the benefit of like playing a number of years in Japan before coming over to the majors, right? And so
Yes.
it's a very different thing to me to like jump right into the minor leagues as a young kid like this.
Yeah. And, if I remember correctly, Maury opted, like he would have been like I think a top 10 pick in the NPB draft, and he decided to come over here instead to develop both ways.
That's right. That's right. He chose to come to the States and sign very early, which is an unusual track, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like a lot of these guys do what Shohei did, and like they come up through the Japanese baseball, and then they come over, or Korean baseball, as the case may be, and they come over here, right? So interesting prospect. It's kind of a lot of fun.
I'm skeptical it's going to work, but like try it until it doesn't work.
Yeah, 100%. Why not? I mean, there's no harm in rostering him. How did you acquire him? Did you draft him or trade for him? Or pick him up?
I either picked him up. I think I'm going to do this by looking. I think I got him like round 4 or 5 in a draft a couple of years ago. It was like a later draft pick.
Got it. Hold on a second. I'm gonna try.
I could look it up. I'm choosing not to.
That's fine.
I think I got him round 4 2 years ago in the same draft as Jhonny level.
That's great. All right. So I was trying to share my screen, but for some reason my because I'm gonna do the wheel now.
Oh.
Yeah. So we're gonna do the wheel, right, where we pick a random prospect off the ABL top 100.
I'm gonna be so pissed if it's Bonnemar level. By the way,
well, we'll respin. We'll respin.
I don't want to mess with if the wheel says talk about him again. We'll figure out something.
Yeah. So I'm having technical difficulties opening up this screen sharing with the system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin the wheel, and you're just going to have to take my word for it. What the selection is.
Sure.
So. I found a random website that does this spinning, and I'm very disappointed I can't share the screen right now because I designed the color for the show and everything. So,
worst case, just drop the link on the server, and then people can see it and
spin right.
And talk at their heart's content.
Right, exactly. All right, so here we go. We're going to spin the wheel and see what comes up.
Let me know if you want like a little drum roll.
Oh, there actually is a drum roll sound.
Of course, StreamYard's really up in its game.
Okay. All right, we got a good one.
Okay.
We got the number 6 prospect, Leo DeVries.
Leo DeVries.
Yeah. So so we decided on a division of labor for this.
Let's pull up some.
Yeah, so you're going to look up his stats, and I'm going to look up his scouting grades.
What do we got? 26. He's in AA at 19. It's almost like the number 6 prospect's going to be good. Who knew?
Yeah. I mean, so I think it's and actually it's an interesting prospect to me to have in this grade. So let's talk about his stats first. He's in AA at 19.
Double A
Okay.
19, which right off the bat, yeah, well below average for. He's actually doing a little worse than he did last year in Double A, which is surprising. He had like a 20 game cup of coffee in Double A last year, 280 average, 360 on base, 910 OPS. Pretty healthy strikeout rate. I think he only struck out 20. I'm doing quick math in my head, 23% of the time. So pretty healthy numbers. This year it's more 268 average, 350 on base, 760 OPS. There's a little less, actually same amount of home runs in more games. So,
Yep.
But still 19 in Double A and probably just above average stat line.
Yeah. So I mean, on all those stats, what's the strikeout rate?
Strikeout rate is 35 strikeout. But
all right. So it's
20.
high.
It's about the same as last year, maybe like 1% higher.
Yeah.
So a lot of it might just be some batted ball luck. It looks like baseline is pretty much the same as last year in Double A.
Yeah. How many plate appearances are we talking about?
We were talking about 142 this year versus, so he's been in Double A maybe 230 at bats total, counting last year.
Yeah, I mean, incredibly exciting prospect, Leo DeVries.
Yes.
That performance as a 19-year-old in Double A does not alarm me at all.
I mean,
it's kind of
at some point it's like his numbers like, and it looks like there's a little bit of bad luck under the hood too. So like the fact that he's like league average at 19 in Double A, first of all, the fact that he just made it to Double A 19.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like the highest mark above any other warts, and not really that many warts in that batting line either.
No, I mean the strikeout rate's a little bit more than you want, but also completely understandable. You got to remember he's like competing against much more advanced.
Yes.
This is real competition, and including a lot of college players who have played baseball a lot longer than he has and have pitched and have learned to pitch a lot more than he has.
So he's mostly facing guys older than him that could spin a baseball at this point.
Yep. So I mean, he's holding his own, right, in Double A. Just looking at his scouting grades, I mean, he got an incredibly high handbook grade. I mean, it's like, I would not be surprised if DeVries is the number 2 prospect next year in my handbook.
It's actually funny. I just opened Baseball America, and he's currently number 2 there.
Yeah, I mean, like,
they filter out live with like graduates and stuff, but
sure, yeah. as do I. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's number 2 next year next to Jesus Mate.
Yes.
It's also possible he could leapfrog Mate. They're very close in the handbook.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he could be the cover guy next year for the handbook. His grades just speak volumes about his potential. Baseball America gave him a 60 hit tool, 55 power, 50 speed, 65 overall. And what really stands out is they gave him an average ceiling risk. Like that is a huge endorsement for Leo DeVries from Baseball America. Yeah, right. And so, Jason, thanks again, Jason, for watching the show.
Yes.
We did it live. But yeah, he's like saying we could see him pretty soon. And I think that's probably right. I mean, I would not be surprised if he got a cup of coffee later this year in the majors.
Especially because, I mean, just MLB, especially the American League, it's so wide open. It's like the Yankees and Rays, and then nobody else really seems to want it early on. So
yeah, I mean, he could get up there. And that Sacramento's a bandbox. I mean, it's an interesting park for him to play, and it's very different than the Coliseum. The A's are being a great pitching park to being a great hitting park. It's a very strange thing. But just to close the loop on the grades, Baseball HQ gave him a 55, 55, 55, 60 across the boards. And I'm translating it to the 20 to 80 scale.
Mm-hmm. But just the fact that you're above average across the board,
I mean, very positive guy. Everything that I've read about DeVries is super exciting. In terms of his coachability, his maturity for his age, his approach to the plate. I mean, this guy truly has the potential to be a superstar, and he's going to stick at shortstop.
That's the other thing too. It's this is a shortstop. It's not we're waiting to see how he does and he's going to move to second base. This is a shortstop.
Yeah, so really exciting player. They'll be moving to Vegas presumably, and we'll see how that park plays. But
I mean, I think the closest to a complaint I can have about him is he's good, very good at everything. There's a chance it doesn't like. There's a chance he's not great at a lot of things, and then all of a sudden, oh, he's only a top 75 player in the major leagues instead of like a superstar. But like,
Yeah, I
if you get in
mean,
the top set, but if that's the biggest complaint, like, oh, you're only very good instead of a superstar,
yeah, I think
you're in good shape.
yeah, 100. I agree with that. And all these players have risk, and the downside is that he's like a slightly above average player as opposed to
Yeah,
a
like
super.
the one thing, like just pulling up, like from all of his stops, again, it's only his third year. His OPS is barely topped out at 900 at a single stop, but part of that's because they're really pedal to the metal pushing him. Like, he could
Yeah,
have spent another month at low A and laid waste to it. But
yeah, and the power when you're a young prospect being pushed is the last thing to show up,
yes,
right? And so like there's going to come a tip. There should come an inflection point where his power, in-game power, starts to really show up, and that could
absolutely, yeah.
happen later this summer.
It could. It also could be like he goes to AAA soon, and then it takes because he just every time it's
Yes,
about to develop,
yeah,
he just goes up a level.
yeah. No, I agree. But going to Jason's point, like I could see him being up in the major leagues very, very soon.
Yeah,
That does raise the specter of struggling, at the major league level as such a young ball player. Not everybody hits the ground running as Juan Soto does. I mean, he's the unicorn.
yeah. Yeah, I
Most
mean that's the universal thing. Prospect growth is not linear. Like I wouldn't be shocked if he was like, and not even struggle. He might be like, if he got called up, he might be like league average at the plate
yeah,
for half a season
yeah.
while still playing a really good shortstop.
Right. I mean, he can play defense.
Yeah,
It's a big factor here. I mean, it's very similar, not exactly the same, but a similar narrative as Connor Griffin.
yes,
Different players, but a similar narrative, and in that, like, this is a player who's going to add value on the diamond, and it's going to get his playing time. Has plus carrying tools, different tools than Connor Griffin has.
yes,
But you know, great frame, 6'2", 183. He's going to pack on some muscle to that as he gets more mature. Which, another thing with these young players, like that 55 power tool that he has from both Baseball America and Baseball HQ, hasn't shown up fully like in games.
yeah. Well,
You
like
know,
here a lot of times, I forget which side too, but it's like raw power, game power. Like you can hit over the fence, but when can you do it? Not in batting practice.
yeah, there's definitely that element, which is a part about like tapping into your power by making adjustments and learning the game. There's also just physical maturation.
Yes.
And like, he's 19, he's already a big kid. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, could he end up weighing like 210?
Yeah.
He could. He hits the weight room, he goes to 210.
Yeah.
Like
Then you
that's
just gotta hope he doesn't hit the weight room too hard, and then he's gotta go to second or third base.
right, right. I mean, but like this is a
Yeah.
guy who can end up with a 60 grade power tool.
Yes.
And again, I've made this point a couple times today. Like that is what really intrigues me about the prep players and the DSL players is the upside of like these tools really increasing. And so like last show I talked about Tate Gray, another 18-year-old
Yep.
prospect. Because there's so much opportunity to mold these players, like their grades can be like undershooting their actual ceiling, and you'll see players get up leveled. And there was just a reason. There was an article today on Baseball HQ. Let me just find it about this very issue, and it was about Eric Hartman.
Oh yeah, he was a big pop up.
Yeah, and so basically, I'm gonna like summarize, a discussion about
Hmm.
him on a Baseball HQ today. So one of the dudes at Baseball HQ goes out and scouts these players live. Did a tour through the Braves system and saw Hartman play along with a handful of other Braves prospects. Did a little write up. Basically said in the write up, like, I totally blew it on this kid. Like, he's much better than I thought he was, and he basically took him from an average grade to a 60 grade, like across
Yeah,
the board.
and I mean, for like, good to have that kind of ability, but also like, there wasn't a lot of stuff, going into the season. Hartman. Like he just got into the system and took off. Like,
yeah, and it's a testament to the Braves identifying talent. It's a
yes,
testament to the Braves developing talent. Like the organization
Mhm.
matters, not only in development, but like there are some organizations that are just good about picking people, like identifying young
Yes.
players who have upside. And DeVries, for example, came up through the Padres system before he got
Mhm.
traded. They've actually done a really good job
Yeah,
of
the
identifying and letting go
Padres
players.
do a
Like,
great job drafting. They
yeah,
sent him out, and
yeah,
even
and
that,
then,
like they sent him to freeze. That might haunt him. Have you
yeah.
seen Mason Miller pitch? They're not like they didn't get like fleeced.
No, they did not get fleeced. But like they make choices. They've traded
Yes,
a lot. They've traded a lot of the young talent away.
absolutely.
And they're stockpiling that young talent. And so the Braves are one of those organizations similarly that has done a very good job. It's another indication about how these, organizations just have the best insight into players. And we in the fantasy, like, we do the best we can. All these, experts out there, even
Yeah,
publications like Baseball America and Baseball HQ, you know, pick your, whichever one you use, right? I mean,
these teams know better ultimately, except for maybe the Rockies. But overall, these teams know better,
these teams know better, except for the Rockies. That's fair. That's a fair caveat. Well, the Rockies just had a
and they're
change.
catching up. Yeah, they
Yeah, they had a
finally.
change. They have, Deep Podesta.
Yeah,
They got Moneyball now, so
yeah,
maybe
they
they're
decided to join us in the 21st century. Who knows?
right, right. So it's a testament to, like, we're all fallible, but also these young players, there's real opportunity to get a windfall, and when you're drafting them or finding them. So when you start to see things, um, in scouting reports, you know, eyes on player reports about them changing things in their approach, things they're doing differently. I just picked
Yeah.
up Axel Plaz in ABL, the catcher first baseman for the
Yes.
Pirates. Um, the reason I did that, he's got like some nice superficial stats going on right now as a 20-year-old, and like I think he's in high A, wherever he is.
Mhm.
Um, his power has never been in question. It's really his hit tool. And I noticed his like walk rate was down to like 19%. Excuse me, his strikeout rate was down to 19%.
Yeah, if you
Uh,
want to have a strikeout rate under 20% and have power.
yeah, and so I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I started digging around about this kid, and like I was reading some articles about how the Pirates have been really focusing on his approach. He's made some adjustments. So why not take a flyer on him? Because if you can end up being a catcher with a 50 hit tool, or a first baseman with a 50 hit tool as
Mhm.
opposed to a 40 hit tool,
Yeah.
and he's got
It's
that
also a difference
power
if he's
grade.
6 at catcher. It's a wildly different conversation.
Yeah, yeah. So, again, the point being that like these guys,
Yeah.
when they're so young,
Mhm.
there is downside, but there's tremendous upside. Like you could end up with a guy you think is a 50 grade player, and he can end up being a 60 grade player.
Yes.
Um,
I want to go back one thing, just what you said about like organizations know best. They do. And the time it always reminds me is when you see a baseball trade with a competitive balance pick, and every trade for like years, it always seemed like that pick went for more than I thought. But
yep.
then I realized, oh, like they just locked another 1.52 million for their draft. Like, so for us, it's like, oh, but they really overpaid for competitive balance pick 34.
Yep.
But for these teams, like, oh, this probably is some high school shortstop that they can now get
Yeah.
that we don't know who it is at the time.
Right. I mean, they really, they're operating at a different level than fantasy baseball owners are operating at,
Yes.
right? I mean, and they should be.
Yeah. And even like, yeah, these websites like, HQ America, they do great work overall, but they have a staff of a few, whereas this
Yep.
organization has eyes everywhere. And
Yeah.
yeah.
That's right. That's right. So super interesting to me, like, DeVries, where he's going to end up. And maybe we'll reintroduce the wheel, and I'll work out the technical difficulty so we can do it on the show live for the next time I do it. But are you prepared to talk about some crushes and fades?
I have a fade. I'll start
Okay.
with the fade.
Yep.
It's a general fade. It's not a specific player. And they all might be really good players. It's Dodgers outfielders.
Okay.
So the thing with the outfield is you only have 3 spots there.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dodgers have how many top ranked outfielders right now? Like DePaula, Hope, Sirota. There's at least 3 more I'm missing. But like,
Oh, they've got, Co coming up. They've got,
yeah, Zavalan. Like there's just
Zabala,
yeah,
they've
there's
got, Tunic they've drafted. They've got a lot of young
yeah,
guys coming out of the pipeline for
and
sure.
if anyone's seen Padres play this year, there's really only 2 spots in the outfield long term right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So this is an interesting topic. So
and again, some of them will be trade bait, obviously, but just as a
right,
general,
right. So the Dodgers are, kind of a bizarro world organization right now, right, in terms of player development, because they go out and buy all their players at this point, or most of them. Pages is like an outlier for them. I mean, they basically have a Hall of Fame roster at this point. But some of the guys will get traded, as you pointed out, and go on elsewhere and potentially be successful. And when they do get traded, I'd be very interested to see the organizations that acquire them. Going to the discussion we just had, if I'm much more interested if a smart organization acquires a player than I am if an organization that I don't think is very good at identifying talent acquires a player, right? If the Tampa Bay Rays acquire a player, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Historically, if the Rockies acquired a player, I was not interested. That may change now because they have new ownership. The Cardinals with Chaim Bloom in charge, I have more faith in. Their organizations where if they acquire one of these dudes, I'd be like, all right, that's interesting to me. The other thing I would say is that not all these Hall of Famers are going to play forever. Freddie Freeman's contract is up after next year. I think he has I think in 2028 it expires.
Okay, so he's got enough. Yeah, there's a few guys a couple of years left. I
Yeah,
don't know Teoscar's contract, but I know.
Yeah,
He's not
Teoscar's
there
another
forever.
one. Mookie Betts is 34. They're guys that are not going to be around forever. There's also the specter of a CBA coming in that it may force the Dodgers to move some of these players.
Yeah, I will say I have no idea what's going to happen with the lockout. If there is a lockout, if they make a settlement, if they do it, I'm just what if they do a cap and they're like, here's the cap next year? Do they look at the Dodgers and the Mets cut 100 million, peace out, good luck?
Yeah, right. I mean,
do they get
these
are
are
these
real
the old NBA where they're amnesty buyouts? Is it
these are real questions. So I don't know the answers to them, but my point is that the world may look different for the Dodgers in terms of the pipeline. And I'm a big proponent of drafting skills, not roles. And so Dalton Rushing is kind of the poster boy for me of this issue. This is a very talented prospect who can play catcher and first base, who's obviously performed very well in a small sample size and small opportunities for the Dodgers. Could I see him being the first baseman of the Dodgers when Freddie Freeman leaves? Yes, I could.
Yeah, I mean, because Will Smith is still there for a while. He just got I haven't looked up, but he got a 7 or 8 year extension a year or two ago. So
he's their catcher, right? And so could I see Dalton Rushing being the backup catcher or DH first baseman for them? Yeah. I mean, I could. And Alex Freeland just got demoted again. They've got guys coming up through the system. And the Dodgers let go of Miguel Vargas, who's been super this year for the White Sox. And a lot of these guys do go on elsewhere and perform well. They have a bevy of outfielders. They also have some infielders coming up that are really talented. They have a deep pipeline. I mean, Emil Morales is a real thing coming up in their system. Could he end up playing instead of Mookie Betts? Yeah, he could.
I realized I actually didn't read it, but I think Baseball America had a fun article a week or two where they start let's compare prospects, and it was Jhonny Level and Emil Morales they were comparing.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That. Yeah. I mean,
it's a fun little. I don't want to say fluff because that was more it was better than the fluff piece. What a nice little change up for an article.
Yeah. I saw that. I did not end up reading that particular article.
I'm just what a fun idea. Take 2 prospects that are both good prospects, obviously, and yeah.
I like both prospects. I'm a big Morales fan. I like him a lot. We'll see what kind of opportunity he has. Another player who I can see the Dodgers holding on to or trading at the right time.
I mean, they're just an embarrassment of riches,
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's an interesting fade. Any crushes?
I have one, and it's still a prospect. He is in the majors. Connor Prelip.
Oh, sure.
Just like it's a name. He was drafted, and he kept getting injured, and I don't know how long he's going to be in the majors this year because I'm sure they're going to like have to monitor the heck out of him.
Yep.
He's really good. And like it could still be that caveat. Like it's easy for a prospect to come up and be good for a month, and then the book come out on you. And like first start he pitched against the Mets. At the time I probably could have thrown 6 shutout innings against the Mets myself. But like,
right. I mean, we joke. You and I would both get lit up like a Christmas tree. But like,
oh my God, I would start crying on the mound. It'd be pathetic.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting choice. I mean, particularly in a 30-team league, I think Philip has a lot of value.
Yeah, it's just like watch like, wow, that pitch, like I forget it was a curve, but just like there's a lot more movement than I would have guessed on this person's pitches. And and it looked like he at least had a fastball. I think it was a curve. But like there's just good tunneling. Like it looked the same out of his hand coming out, and just like, oh, that went that way and that went that way. Well, yeah, this is gonna be a pain.
Yep. So yeah, he's an interesting prospect, kind of like post hype guy.
Yeah, that's the thing. He was a big prospect. Like for a while he like climbed up lists. But I think his thing was always he would kind of dominate a level and then get injured.
Yep.
Like I think I just pulled it up to make sure I had this right. I don't think he ever pitched 100 innings in a season in the minors.
I think that's right. I haven't looked at it, but that sounds about on.
I pulled up because like I'm pretty sure this is right. Yeah, last year was his high. It was 82 innings, and in his career for the minors, it's like 128 innings. So across 3 years.
Yeah, I'll tell you my crush right now is a Cardinals pitcher. It's Yoker Fajardo.
Oh yes, he was. Was he one of the ones they got from the Red Sox in the offseason, or am I? They have some funny name pitchers.
Yeah, I actually don't know the answer to that question. I should, but I don't. What I can say is that whatever Chaim Bloom's drinking, I want some of that. Because like this kid is like, really lighting it up right now. And let me just pull up his stats. Fair to say, like he was not on a lot of like, prospect list before the season started. 19-year-old, 6'3", 182, high A ball.
A good start.
Yeah, high A ball.
Maybe a little muscle because 6'3", 180 is a little low, but on the weight side, the height is great.
Yeah, he's 19, right? So he's gonna put on some weight. Now how many innings pitched we have? 28 innings pitched, 34.1% K rate.
That will play.
4.9% walk rate.
That's the foundation you want.
And so his K minus walk is 29.3%.
So as a fan, I'm like, a K rate.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, like this is awesome. Now look, he's and he did come over from Boston. That's correct. His walk rate is going to go up. His like historical walk rate has been right around 9.4%.
Yeah.
So that'll go up. His strikeout rate will come down a little bit too.
And I mean, even if it goes up, 7, 8, that would still play. Like you could double that walk rate and it's still good. Or at least passable. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like super excited by this kid who just came over like seemingly out of nowhere. Maybe Tom like knows who he is, like in terms of the Red Sox fans, but like very exciting, interesting prospect. We'll see like, how soon he gets up to AA ball, but probably next year. But if he does this, any semblance of this, like for the rest of the season, like put a bullet on this kid.
Absolutely, it's always just interesting in general when you see that, like Shane Bloom. I believe I would have to look this up. I'm assuming Bloom was the one who originally picked this guy, who based on his age, I believe he was a international signing at some point.
Yes,
but then
Oh, actually, the White Sox signed him.
Oh.
So the White Sox signed him in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Sox acquired him. They had him last year in 2025. So it's not Chaim Bloom.
Okay.
Right?
So, yeah, I know like he went to the Red Sox for a couple of trades. Like, oh, I used to have that guy. I still like him.
Yeah. So like really interesting prospect. So like he pitched 13 games in the DSL, 50 innings. What was his stat line there? Like, all I care about is K minus walk. 26.4% K minus walk. In
there
the
you
DSL.
go.
Pretty solid.
Yeah, especially in it's nice that there's more stats for the DSL, but especially for pitchers, there's not too much to glean.
No, 50 innings in the DSL is a lot, actually. I mean,
Yes.
that's like, that's 13 games. He pitched the full season.
I mean, yeah, especially there, like where all this starts, like 3-4 innings for most guys.
Yeah, I mean that's legit. The next year for Boston, he came over to the CPX as an 18-year-old, 22.4 K minus walk, and then he went up to A ball, 18.4%, but that was probably in very few innings. Actually, I take it back. 51 innings in A ball last year.
Oh,
right.
okay.
So net total minor leagues, 72 innings last year. So this guy has a little bit of durability too. Like,
that's a lot of innings for was he 18 last year? That's actually a pretty high amount of innings.
Yeah, and so 19.4% K minus walk all in for the minor leagues last year. Being a guy who was very young for his level at A ball, right? Gets traded to the Cardinals. He probably came over in the Sonny Gray deal, but traded over to the Cardinals.
I think so. Yeah, except because I believe there was 2 different deals. So it's like there's a Contreras deal and a Sonny Gray deal. So
one of those deals he came over.
Yeah,
right?
Same end result.
Right. And so, 19 years old, high A for a pitcher, that's like very impressive.
Yeah.
And he's like, particularly for a DSL pitcher to come in.
It's funny because it's the thing I look at sometimes. And strike out minus walk rate. But the other thing is like young pitchers who
Jason holding us on.
Thank you, Jason.
Perfect. Thank you, Jason.
Jason's on it. Thank you, man.
Jason's
but another thing to look at is especially the young pitchers like that who pitch a lot of innings. That was actually one of the other flags. I traded him in ABL. I had a Leomar Martinez from the Marlins, and that was one of the flags I had on him. Was there's a lot of innings for an 18-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm super excited about this guy as a Cardinals fan. And I've picked him up everywhere he was available.
I do want to, because we started the show. Oh, I got Caleb Bauer in a trade. I'm so great. That trade, Leomar Martinez, I did trade away AJ Ewing, so I clearly do not win them all.
There you go.
I just want to make that very known.
Well, all right. I mean, you had your Metitis there. Like,
I
can't have a Met prospect. Got to trade him away. So
it's actually funny because that trade, I wanted Didier Fuentes, who I believe every single league I'm in, either myself or Tom own him.
Yeah,
down the line.
I've had shares of him here or there, but I have no shares now because everybody wants him and trades for him. And
I think all the leagues I'm in, it's either myself or Tom.
Yeah. So there you go. I'm just very happy that I got Diego Torrens from Tom in 2 leagues, including an ABL. So I'm very excited to see Diego Torrens.
Did he hit a home run? I feel like the last episode I did of this, we talked about him he's really promising. He should hit a home run at some point. Yeah,
he did not hit a home run last year in the DSL.
Yes.
I will say that his exit velocities are very, very good.
I remember liking him, thinking, at some point they got to lift the ball.
Yeah, he will. He's also very, very young.
I mean, that's the other thing too. I like him a lot. I think it's not a 1-for-1, but a decent comp. If he progresses well, we might be talking about him next year. Though we talk about Justin Gonzalez of the Red Sox this year if he goes well. So.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, look, he's he's 7 plate appearances into the CPX. So
no home runs yet. What a slacker.
Yeah, he does have 4 stolen bases. It's kind of shocking, but
which is fun, but also the CPX that could mean absolutely nothing.
It could mean absolutely nothing. He had 24 stolen bases in the DSL, which also could be nothing. But he's a very interesting prospect. He had a 21% or basically a 22% strikeout rate versus a 15.6% walk rate at the at the DSL last year. So we'll see how he progresses. But a super exciting prospect. I would not be surprised if Diego Torrens is a top 100 prospect next year on most lists. We'll see.
If I had to guess, I mean, he's trending up. I don't know if he's going to be in a top 100 opening day.
Yeah,
but I absolutely see him be getting added to those lists next year at some point.
Yeah, so he already got a pretty high grade in the handbook. I think he's going to be ending up another guy who was very young. All his grades could go up; they could increase. So let's see what happens with him. Obviously,
another Braves guy too.
Yeah. That is right. The Braves are very good at picking these players.
Yes,
They are.
Yeah, like all this work we do, some teams just know their stuff and follow them.
They do. So listen, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Spending your Saturday afternoon with me on a beautiful day here in New York.
It's so nice outside.
It's very nice. I'll be going outside in a little bit myself. And thank you, Jason, for watching the entire show. It's very impressive. But we're gonna have to have Jason on the show because he's been a stalwart watcher.
Honestly, Jason would crush it.
I look forward to having Jason on the show if he's game for it. So I have a normally my salutation is to remember to ABP, but I've arranged for video.
Ooh.
An out video. So let's see if it works this time. So I will say it one last time, assuming this works. I won't have to say it again. But for those watching at home or later on, remember to ABP. Always be prospecting.
Remember to ABP. Always be prospecting.